Hello, I'm Elaine Sanchez, founder of Caregiver Help, and I am back with my guest, Dr. Joseph Casciani, and we are talking about life after death and aging solo. And this is the second in our series of conversations. And in the first one, we were talking about identity and right after a person dies. And Dr. Kashiani, I would love for you to share the quote that you shared from Joan Didion.
Sure, sure. Yeah, thank you for inviting me back, Elaine. You know, as we were discussing, the loss of a spouse
Mhm.
often raises a lot of questions about my new role. I'm now the survivor, and I've spent the last years or months or days, being a caregiver, and now that role has changed. I don't have that role anymore.
Mhm.
And my thinking is that this happens not not infrequently for older adults because we're always looking at changing changing roles, starting new chapters, whether it's a new career or going back to school or a small business or a new brand for oneself. And I think the surviving spouse, widow or widower, is looking at the same process because
Mhm.
the question is, what do I do now? Can I create a new identity for myself? Can I redefine my role in the world? And there's a quote by an American writer, Joan Didion,
Mhm.
who captured this essence, I think, in these few words. She said, "I've already lost touch with a couple of people I used to be." And
Just love that.
to me, the impact of that is it's okay to let go of a role that I had in the past or a couple of roles. It's okay to look at a new script, a new role, a new character, a new picture. If we have a blank screen, we can create a new picture of who we want to be. It is a blank screen. And that's, if there are upsides to moving on from grief, it's that we now have open doors and we can look at
Uh,
creating this new identity. And that's not to disrespect. That's not to say I didn't care or I'm glad to be over. No, no, not at all. We can still maintain that connection, that
mhm.
lifelong love, and still say, okay, here's who I am now. I'm going to kind of redefine myself. There's another great book by Joanne Lippman, and it's
Mhm.
called Next, Next. And she
Okay.
talks probably dozens and dozens of people who have done just this. They work in one area and then they shift and they say, it's not right for me,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
go on. And some of them are, middle-aged adults, and others are older adults, but it's the same process, looking at the new role, looking at the new opportunity I have in creating this new script.
I really like that, and I think it is so encouraging to think in those terms.
Yeah,
And I know that we do go through stages, and I know that they aren't all one after another.
right.
That you go through them maybe multiple times in the same day, all of those stages. But I think it's easy to get stuck. And I would like to know your thoughts on how you get unstuck
Yeah.
from this grief. And, if we internalize it and say, okay, this is part of who I am now, then how do you make this transition from being here to being, in this new stage of I can be whoever I want to be.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can create a new identity for myself.
Well, I think it's common that people can feel stuck in
Uh-huh.
grief. It's a common experience. They feel like maybe I'm unable to move forward. I'm
Mhm.
frozen, or I'm
Mhm. Mhm.
looping in the same thoughts. I kind of spend all these my days thinking about the same things, and maybe he or she says I should be further along now, or nothing's changing.
Mhm.
So, why do people get stuck? Who knows? I mean, for one thing, it's protective, I think.
Uh,
We have these walls that we can construct around us and protect ourselves from further loss or further emotions.
Mhm.
So it's a way to avoid, I wouldn't say avoid pain, but it can be a protection, like a buffer, and nothing's going to get into me. And okay, that's a process. It's a way we're trying to cope. Maybe
Mhm.
there are other ways to cope, but that's how I'm coping. I'm going to build these walls up, and I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay here. Or sometimes it's again, maybe feelings of guilt. What if I'd done something different? What if
Right.
we were in that accident? Maybe I should have done something better or something. Or, we're in the floods or the fires, and maybe I should have, done something different. I lost my spouse as a result of my action. So I think there's a lot of different sides to this feeling stuck. But again, it's feeling like I'm going to have this protection around me, and things have disappeared, and I'm not ready to move on yet.
Oh.
And I haven't answered that question. Who am I now? So, I need to protect myself. That's too much for me to deal with. So, it's also a way, ironically, to still feeling connected to the person we lost,
Oh,
right?
okay.
If we have this little bubble that we're in, and it's a
Hmm.
safe, familiar, predictable bubble,
Hmm.
I can still stay close to the person I lost, and maybe in some ways not deal with that separation, that
Because it feels
loss.
disloyal, maybe,
Yeah, it
if
can
I.
it can be, but it's like I I'm not going to leave you, right?
Mhm.
I'm here. And I'm not saying this is healthy or
Mhm.
unhealthy, but it is a way of kind of staying in one place and not being open to dealing with those emotions and getting back up off the mat. I'm not ready to get up off the mat. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
really interesting.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, if someone is listening to this podcast and
Mhm.
they are there,
Mhm.
um, what would you recommend?
Yeah.
How do you make this transition?
Well, first of all, would have to normalize it, right? Feeling
Hmm.
stuck is not failure. It's just
Hmm.
part of the process. It's
Hmm.
one of the phases or stages or parts of the recovery process that we go through. It's not failure. And think of it as a signal, not not an endpoint, right?
Hmm.
It's a sign that something's not progressing, something's not um, evolving the way it should. And, maybe the person needs some support, some maybe professional counseling, maybe
Hmm.
some really close friends to, sit and allow the person to experience sometimes we're just afraid of feeling those strong emotions, that
Hmm.
loss and sadness and despair. Those are crushing for some people, and they're
Hmm.
afraid to go through that. We can, of course, but they're afraid of being swallowed up, afraid of being lost in
Hmm.
those emotions. So, the support, maybe a good close friend or, maybe a professional, someone that says, okay, you're allowed to feel these, and don't worry that you're not going to recover from it, because we
Okay.
do. That's the way, I mean, that it's that recovery that allows us to leave those powerful feelings behind us.
Hmm.
They may leave a scar, but it's not an open wound anymore. It's a scar.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
again, we can move beyond. So how do we move? I think it's important to understand that a lot of mental health professionals don't agree with this, but um, behavior changes emotions.
Okay.
Behavior changes the motivation. Some people feel like, oh, if they're depressed, they need to get undepressed. They need to be relieved from depression before they can go out and do things. And I think that's
It
backwards, right?
just, yes, I
It,
agree.
it's the whole theory of behavioral activation.
Yeah.
If we're changing behavior, that's what changes the emotions, right? how will you know when you're not depressed anymore? Well, tomorrow I'll get up and I'll open the curtains and I'll put some coffee on and I'll make a breakfast. All right, so you do that. And when we do that behavior, it changes that feeling of feeling stuck or feeling depressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the behavior that changes the emotion,
Mm-hmm.
not the other way around. Because we can talk and talk and talk for years about feeling depressed or sad or lonely. That doesn't change behavior. We change the behavior first, and that changes the feelings. So that's
That is a new concept for me, and I
yeah,
absolutely love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's central to behavior change and
Mhm.
recovery and moving. The question is, what can I do tomorrow that I'm not doing today?
Okay.
That's a little step. Even minor changes, even tiny steps
Mm-hmm.
can create some momentum. And
Mm-hmm.
these tiny steps add up to a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
that those tiny steps kind of help us build the confidence that I'm moving. Tiny
Mm-hmm.
step, not big steps, just
Mm-hmm.
tiny step.
Little
One,
steps. Yeah.
what did I do today
Yeah.
that I didn't do yesterday?
Yeah.
And those add up. And one or two or three, it builds the confidence and allows us to create that motivation, if nothing else.
Uh-huh.
We're motivated to keep on doing it. So,
I really think that is incredibly helpful.
yeah,
I know for me, getting out in nature
yeah,
is my number one mood lifter.
yeah,
Getting out, going for a walk. I think for other people, it might be listening to music. It might be, any number of activities. But if you can
yeah,
identify something that has lifted your spirits
yeah.
in the past and give yourself permission to enjoy doing something that can lift your spirits, it's a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great point. It is
Yeah.
getting back to routines because
Uh-huh.
sometimes we are divorced, we're separated. There's a big
Mm-hmm.
gap. And, when
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have time to do my gardening, I don't have time to take classes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been too busy taking care of Bob or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's, taking a walk, getting out into nature,
Mm-hmm.
maybe knocking on the door of your neighbor and say, hey, would you, like to go for coffee somewhere?
Great.
It's reaching out and it's taking that initiative
Yes.
because nobody's going to come knocking on our door and say, hey, you want to take a class with me? We have to take that initiative. And it is
Yes.
those small steps, but the routines, things that we used to enjoy, and we can bring it back. It gives us that sense of control again, too.
Yes.
I'm not out of control anymore. And
That's fantastic. I really, really like this.
great.
Yeah, behavior changes attitudes. Is that, or say it again in your
Yeah.
words?
Yeah. It's action
Actions.
precedes
Uh-huh.
the emotional change, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thing for us to remember that um, the feelings are real. We've internalized these feelings. We recognize this is going to be a part of us going forward, and we still have choices about what we do and how we go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we can't wait for the depression to lift before we start taking those steps.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's not to say we don't respect the emotions. Like I said earlier, we do have to respect the emotions, but we can't wait for them to lift before we start changing behavior. We change the behavior, and that gives us that extra boost to leaving that depression behind.
Excellent.
Great.
Very, very helpful. Thank you,
Great.
Dr. Casciani. This wraps up our second in this series, and I'm just excited to talk to you next time because I
Great.
know that we're going to have some more great insights and strategies for helping people move on after loss. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're most welcome, Elaine. Thank you for the invitation. I
You bet.
really
We'll
appreciate
see you
it.
soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.